Hello, everyone. Welcome to NEBMinistry. I am Angie. So let's move forward in our next part of Habakkuk in chapter 1. So we went over verses 1 through 4. So now we are going to go into the Lord's reply to Habakkuk as he had made his complaint. So we're starting with verse 5, and it states, "The Lord replied, look around at the nations. Look and be amazed. For I am doing something in your own day, something you wouldn't believe, even if someone told you about it. I am raising up the Babylonians, a cruel and violent people. They will march across the world and conquer other lands. They are notorious for their cruelty and do whatever they like. Their horses are swifter than cheetahs and fiercer than wolves and ducks. They charioteers charges from far away. Like eagles, they swoop down to devour their prey. On they come, all bent on violence. Their horses advance like desert wind, sweeping captive ahead of them like sand. They scoff at kings and princes and scorn all their fortresses. They simply pile ramps of earth against their walls and capture them. They swift past like the wind and are gone, but they are deeply guilty, for their own strength is their God." So I want to rewind back a little bit. I want to go to verse 5, which was the Lord's reply. And I love this piece because it's highlighted, and I begin to marinate on this significant verse, which was highlighted to help me to understand something, which is something important that God wants us to understand. So what he said was, look around at the nations. Look and be amazed. For I am doing something in your own day, something you wouldn't believe, even if someone told you about it. What I'm saying to you is, although what you may see with your natural eyes, God is moving and orchestrating things in the way that he sees fit, that he knows that it's going to bring about a change. It's going to cause a shift on the inside of you. It's going to extend your faith. Although that we feel what God is allowing to take place, blessing these other people or giving them things when they have not served him, or they not accepting who he is, but they coming against us. What God's saying is he's using even that, which is their characteristic, to bring about his plan. No, it doesn't feel good when we having to face things. It doesn't feel good when we hear about things. It doesn't feel good when we hear that family members are having to go through something. You know, you can think about so many different things that you do not like when it comes to another human being doing such a thing. But what God's saying is he's using that for his purpose. That's why I say, look around. Like, even if I told you what I'm doing, it still wouldn't even make sense to you. Because in our natural mind, we looking at it's not fair. But everything God do is fair. And let me talk about fair. I always used to hear favor ain't fair, favor ain't fair. But what God dealt with me was favor is fair. Because what he does is fair. Everything he do is lined up with according to his will and his purpose. So just because you may have favor, I don't have favor in such an area. It's for a purpose. So who am I to say that's not fair? Understand this. Favor is fair. It's fair to whom God chooses to give that favor to. All right, let me move forward. So anyway, again, a lot of times we face with different things and we feel like what these people are doing, that they shouldn't have access to blessings. They shouldn't have access to the promise. They shouldn't have access to all these different things. But again, with our natural eyes, we're not seeing behind the scene. We're not seeing and understanding that the purpose of which God allowed to take place is actually building us up. Think about it. The things in which you have experienced, if you haven't went through that, can you honestly say that your wisdom was developed just like that? You know, some of the things we actually have to go through to understand what these things are, to not allow ourselves to go back into it. Also, not only to go back into it, but just being watchful, recognizing what these things are that's heading our direction. Being alert, learning how to utilize the spirit of discernment, all kinds of different things. So just because something look one way doesn't mean that God is not using it to fulfill his purpose. We ask for things, but we forget about in those moments of what we ask. Now that it's time for us to go into a place of God letting your will be done, when stuff have to shift or things have to shift, we don't know how to accept that. We don't know how to become one with what is taking place because, again, it don't feel good. But it's still working out for the purpose and the plan that God has for you, the plan that he has for the nation, the plan that he has for your neighbors, the plan that he has for your children, on and on and on. There's a plan and a purpose behind everything. I want to give y'all some scriptures, and I pray that you able to take these scriptures, plug them into your heart, let it marinate, because as you travel this journey, you need something to be reminded of. Because what do the Bible tells us? We walk by faith and not by sight. And a lot of times what is being presented to us will cause us to deviate off that task. That's where that where we supposed to be end up being delayed because of something that we have allowed to take place. And I want to give you these scriptures not only for that purposes, but also to understand that how God uses what he does or what take place to work out for our good. Romans 8:28 states, and we know that all things work together for the good of those that love him, that are called according to his purpose. Genesis 50:20. You intended to harm me, but God intended it for good to accomplish what is now being done, the saving of many lives. God have allowed these things to take place, regardless of how people are, how the situation look. But it's still to help accomplish many lives. If you haven't been through what you've been through, you wouldn't been able to help the other person come out. It was intended for you to go through what you go through, which God knows that you're able to handle it so that you can have a purpose in helping someone else come out of what they're going through. Ecclesiastic 12:14. For God will bring every deed into judgment, including every hidden thing, whether it's good or evil. So let me bring you to an understanding on this note. Remember, it says, for God will bring every deed into judgment, including every hidden thing, whether it's good or evil. Although that God used Babylonian to do such a thing, they still have to be judged on how they are outside of what he allowed. Sometimes we can look at a situation and see how God prospering people. We can see how God is allowing certain things to take place before our eyes when we feel like they shouldn't have what they have. But at the end of the day, they too shall be judged, whether if it looks one way or not. But the main thing in this is that we can't be so focused on the outskirts of things. We have to focus on what's ahead. We have to be focused on what is God saying about me? What is the task God saying for me to do? Where do I need to go? How can I be a better person? How can I be at the destination with the vision that God has shown me? We have to get to a place to stay in that part of the lane and not be so focused on, the woe is me and look at this. Because what happened is it would throw things off. Again, even if God was to tell you what he's going to do while you're in the midst of your troubles, you still might not even believe it. As he said in verse 5, he said, look around at the nations, look and be amazed, for I am doing something in your own day, something you wouldn't believe, even if someone told you about it. So the best thing to do is, I don't like it. You can be honest with God. You don't like what you're facing and what you're going through, but trusting that he's allowing it to take place for a greater purpose. Because sometimes even then when we in it, we don't want to hear it's flowers and roses in it when I can't see it. That's why he tells us we walk by faith and not by sight. Because what happened is if I'm so focused on what I am seeing, I can't see the bigger picture. But if I know that I serve an almighty God, have all power to shift and move things according to the way that he see fit, then I need to trust my process and I need to trust why I'm in this in my way of going forward in this journey. And I'm saying that for you too. In spite of what anything or everything looking like, you stay focused on the plan that God set before you. And you continue to stay in that presence place of prayer, fasting, consecration, whatever you need to do, and continue to remain in that place while you finish the journey. So as you're going through this journey, you come out and you're going into another phase. But again, know that God knows exactly what you're facing. He knows what you're going through. And at the end of the day, it's all working out for your good. Your good, my good, your friend good, your mama good, your sister good, everybody good. All right, y'all. So this have included our second piece of chapter 1, which was verse 5 through 11. So we're going to come back and do part 3 of chapter 1, which is Habakkuk's second complaint. And it's going to start from verses 12 to 17. So please go back and read verse 12 through 17 and feel free to make your comments as we come back. I do read the comments. I'm excited to know what it is that you have to say, what you have learned, what God have revealed to you. I'm excited. So as Jesus Christ loves you, I love you too, and be blessed. See you soon.